Ish. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to LinkedIn Live by Next Level Recovery Associates. Today, and I'm Amanda Marino, one of the co-founders. Today, I have a longtime friend inside and outside of the industry, Miss Vanina Hochman, LMFT. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Vanina.
Oh my God, I'm so grateful to be here and so fun to catch up with a friend
Yeah.
and to talk about things that we always talk about, but I think it's nice to put it out there and to have a platform so people can hear like what we do.
No, definitely. And it's kind of stinks that this is like the first time we've had an opportunity to catch up in the past few months.
I know.
But we'll start with this and then we'll get together on the side and catch up on other stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I asked you to do this probably like months ago, so we've had this plan for a while. As we watch each other evolve in this field, like, you started, like, talk a little bit about like where you started your career. Like, you're a licensed therapist, so before you came into this world of the outreach, and the clinical outreach that you do, and you do it, I think, the best of the best. I think you're really, really good at what you do. Um, as somebody who used to do outreach for a living, like, I think the things you do are just incredible. But you come from a different background than a lot of people in your role. So tell me a little bit about you and your history and where you came from. And anyone who has questions, comments, feel free to chime in. Let us know you're here. Say hello to Vanina. Follow Vanina. And so, Vanina, how did we get to where we are today? Where did this start?
Yeah. So I think it's like really important to know that I think the reason and my passion comes from always just wanting to understand people's behavior and making sense of people's behavior in their context. That's always where it started.
Mhm.
I took an AP psych class in high school, and I always was like, okay, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. And it just always made sense to me. I think my mom being a psychologist also maybe drew me to the profession, but I always knew what I wanted to do. I studied psych in undergrad and then got my master's in marriage and family therapy and got licensed. And 20 years ago, my God, no, more than 20 years ago, I started working as a clinician in my first job out of grad school was at Henderson Mental Health Center as a youth case manager. So
Yeah,
started
wow.
working with kids, would advocate for them, go to court with them. During 9/11, I was in Broward County Courthouse advocating for a kid going through a custody battle. I then worked for JAFCO, Jewish Adoption Foster Care Options. I'm still involved with JAFCO, and do a lot of, cool stuff with them.
Awesome.
And I worked as a family therapist there at JAFCO. And then I started working for Kids in Distress. And Kids in Distress is also an agency where they have a lot of different types of governmental contracts to do different, programs. They have a Healthy Start program. They have supervised visitation. They have comprehensive behavioral health assessments. They have a clinic. They have foster care and adoption as well. And I started as a therapist and then became clinical supervisor. And then I actually wrote a grant with a group for wraparound services for homeless families. And we were awarded the grant. It was a $5 million grant to help homeless families with wraparound services, families suffering with mental health issues and substance use issues. And I was program director for that program until I was 34 weeks pregnant with Jake and Emma.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was there for 8 years. So my whole clinical background has always been with families, with kids, with adolescents.
Right.
Meanwhile, I was in private practice too while I was doing that.
Right.
Um, I stayed home with Jake and Emma for a couple of years and then went into private practice. Um,
Because twins are that's no joke.
That's no joke. No joke. And it's been amazing and it's been a journey and they're gonna be 10 in April. So it's like and because Scarlett is the same age.
Yes.
It's like that pre-budding teenage years.
Yeah.
So like
Hence with the girl.
with a girl.
But
Yeah.
my son has given me 17. He's still like super easy, but with a girl, it's definitely for me. My experience with Scarlett is a little different. She's like a 30-year-old, 10-year-old.
And I think the dynamic between a mom and a girl also like is different
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really. No,
Um,
to hear like I mean I know some of your background, but to hear how robust it is, so it also like leads me to see what a conscious move it was for you to go back from working with adults into the adolescent space. Like
yeah,
it's more than just the company, more than just their that why you were drawn back to this, like it's your roots.
it is. It is. And the addressing the entire family system, not only is it part of my philosophy and my training as a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's so something that I believe in and something that is so useful when talking to families that are searching for answers, that don't know exactly like where to go. And
Yeah,
they're just sometimes so focused on their kid when it's really such a family systems issue.
totally.
Yeah. So then that was like a transition. I was always in private practice and still have a small private practice. It's getting smaller and smaller because I just keep getting busier and busier with doing clinical outreach and placement. And I love it, speaking at conferences and just helping families and guiding them to find the right care for their kids, for themselves, things that are appropriate for them, whether it's the right level of care, it's the right type of care, something that's also culturally competent for them is something that's been my passion for a really long time. So that's kind of a little bit of my history.
So that leads me into a good question for you. So having worked in the adolescent and in children and adult sector, in the behavioral health space, what is the difference between working with a family with an adolescent seeking treatment versus dealing with a direct client or an adult looking for their adult loved one for treatment? Because we talked about this before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is the difference for you in your experience?
Yeah. There's so many. First of all, obviously, it's not the child themselves is usually not the one reaching out, right? It's
Yeah.
the parents that are reaching out, that are trying to make a decision for their child, which that in itself is hard because you have parents that don't know if they're making the right choice. Also, you have families, parents that this is their first time ever seeking treatment.
Right.
Sometimes their first time ever seeking any type of treatment. Like something happened. Maybe there was an incident at school. Maybe it was the first time that they found their child using a substance, smoking marijuana, or they went to a party and got drunk, or it was the first time that their child said, that they felt depressed, or they are noticing that their kid is staying up all night playing video games and then sleeping during the day, or their school refusal, or there's just so many different behaviors that are popping up now. And this is the family's first time ever trying to look for help. And there's
Right.
no treatment history whatsoever.
Right.
And then there is also um, parents who have been through a couple of different levels of treatment and are very scared of putting their child in a situation where they're going to be exposed to more or worse things, or not making sure, not making the right decision for them.
or not great care. Maybe if they've gone through some bad, a lot of families that come to both of us have had bad experiences in past treatment, right? And they're scared. Their kid's traumatized from the experience. They're traumatized, but the kid needs help. You
Yep.
know,
Exactly. And then you have the parents who have, because of the dynamic in the home and because of things that have happened, there's no there's no parental power left and the child is calling the shots and they really want to help their kid, but they don't know how to get their kid there.
and they've lost control as the parents of the whole like system. They've lost. I know we both have dealt with that, where they're scared to ask their kid about help. They're scared to
Yeah.
talk about things because they're now positioned that they've lost control of their home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. And in adult care, a lot of times when it was the family reaching out, they needed help and support too, obviously. But now more than ever, when I talk to a family and I'm spending like never less than 30 to 45 to an hour on the phone with a family when they reach out, they need so much help and so much support. Not just their child.
Yeah,
Yes, you know,
that's where we come in to help too. Yeah, they need a lot, and it's like, and sometimes it's like, you talk about it a lot. It's something you're passionate about, the generational, right? So these parents are doing what they know what's best, which is dysfunction that they've had for generations, right? And then now they're trying to change this with their child, but they have to do the work themselves too.
yeah, and that's I think the most powerful part is the intergenerational healing, and where we see that there is lower and lower recidivism rates, where the child goes to treatment and the whole family system gets treatment, and then the child can then go home to a much healthier environment, and that's the first and last time they go to treatment because they're going back home to an environment that can support them, that can, that is healthier for them. Where if they have some kind of reaction or behavior or anything that may be appropriate for an adolescent anyway,
Right.
they're not necessarily going to be at a point where they need to go to treatment again.
Absolutely. No, it is. I remember, I tell James this all the time, but like, and I think I've shared it with you. I was an adolescent in psych hospitals, treatment, um, juvenile detention center, all of that before 17. And adolescent treatment back then was not the way it is now. When I first toured Family First, like I even feel emotional right now because I'm very in tune with my emotions, but like I cried because there was not that kind of care for me when I was a teenager. I'm 41 years old now, and in those 20 plus years, it has changed significantly, right? And as you shared about the stuff of the changing the generational things, like I've been the change within my family. And it could have started as an adolescent and happened at 26, but like because of me getting better, now my mother has gotten better, my sister's gotten better, and we've changed the whole outlook. But I wished, of course, we all have our journey, but I had wished there would have been a place like a program like Family First, or the kind of adolescent supportive programs, because I was brought in a place, beat you down. I was already beaten down. That's not the modality that's used today. So I've personally experienced all of this, and I'm just so grateful that there are people like you out there that guide families, because my family was very misguided back in the day. You know.
The power that you have now within your family, that where you are healing upwards and downwards, right? Because you healed up too, because now it affects your mom. Like how healed you are it's affecting your mom too. And then I see how it affects also your kids.
Yeah.
Um, Look how powerful like you are, Amanda. Like that's just crazy. And your sister too. I know like how much of a center you are for your entire family.
And like the work that you're doing can help position families to be like that, and get it young, you know?
That's the hope. The work that we do is not easy.
No, it's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's also like I don't want to call it hard either, because I think when you do stuff because you're passionate and because you understand what your goals are and you understand where you're going, and why you do what you do, and you also have good boundaries. I know you're so good with that. And you are able to give everything that you can without obviously putting that responsibility on yourself in a way, right?
Compromising self. Yeah.
Yes. Um,
Which is a
but
fine line sometimes, right? It is.
yeah, it is. It is. And it takes a long time to learn that. Like it took me a long time to learn. And I'm still learning. Like I still struggle with that. I tell you that all the time, that I
Yeah.
still struggle with that. But I have to always in mind that even the smallest things sometimes make an impact. And the and I'm grateful to do the work that we do.
Yeah.
And we are in the profession of mental illness, and we say we work in recovery, but we don't. We work
The disease.
in the disease. We do, you
Yeah.
know. It's nice when we hear the success stories and um the the beautiful things about the things that we do and the people that we help, and people sometimes are so grateful about the things that you've said and you've done and the way you've helped, and I get a lot out of that too, but you can't count on those things.
Yeah, when you can visually see like the change in a family system, like that you've been like a tiny part of, like
Yeah.
when you work with them long term or you do a check in down the road, like that means like everything, even though you're just like a piece of that whole puzzle. It just to me is so gratifying. But then there's also the ones that like you feel like you're banging your head against the wall sometimes trying to help, that like they don't want to listen, they're not ready. But like you said, planting a seed, even if we're planting a seed with families, it's great. Let me just quickly say hello Reb is my friend from Malta. I met him in London. He's awesome. He's a sober companion, and he's my most regular
Listener. Yep.
and then Sarah says, hi, Vanina. I'm glad I'm able to listen today. And if you're here to support Vanina or to watch this live, please chime in. If you have any questions about adolescents seeking treatment for Vanina, please, for families or individuals, please feel free to comment here or message privately. Let's continue.
Yeah.
But so where, like, I've also seen you shift and grow, and like you really, in the past few years, I've seen you really step into more of like your power, and know what you're great at. I think there's a big part of you that like knows your passion, your purpose, and like your mission. And can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. Um, I think it comes with age a little bit. It comes with experience. Every stage has been a little bit enlightening, and I am very much an in the moment person. I've talked about this a lot with people in my life, and maybe like through my own work, with my own therapy, with my own work, and through my own practice. But I've been very lucky in a lot of ways to, although I've gone through my own things with immigration and changes and challenges throughout my life, I've
Mhm.
been always been given the gift, I think, and very lucky to have a very loving, stable, and safe family unit. And that has given me a safety within myself and security within myself to always be able to kind of stay in the moment.
Mhm.
And I don't look too much to the past and don't look too much to the future either. I have like this safety and grounding and like calmness to me most of the time. And if not, I know how to find it. And because of that, I kind of let the journey take me to where it is.
Yes.
Um, that has helped me a lot. And with time, education, age, I have let that guide me to where I am now. Um, there's I mean, I hate to say like it comes with age, but it does come with age. I mean, it for me, it's come a little bit with age and with experience, and not that it's not going to change, but I know exactly where I stand, what I want to do. I know what I'm passionate about. I know if something's interesting to me, where I want to spend my time studying. I love learning more. I understand that there's people that have like this amazing knowledge and understanding of different things like trauma and maybe other subjects that I don't know about. And I love learning and taking that information and then putting it out there myself too. And with that, I've been able to grow myself. And there's just confidence in knowing that you know what you're talking about and that you can help. And being a parent myself has helped me with that too.
Totally.
I
Yeah. I
mean,
know how many times I've referenced, being a mother of of a 17-year-old, like when it comes to dealing with teenagers, like I can speak to it
yeah,
experience. And what you said about age, there's something that happens as a woman when you get into your 40s of a
yeah,
level of knowing who the heck you are, knowing what you want. There's just something that shifts, at least my experience and from what you're sharing. Like
yeah,
I just am very clear on who I am, what I want, and what I'm doing at this point, you know?
yeah, yeah. And I battled a little bit sometimes with like that whole imposter syndrome thing, but a little bit like maybe um when I went through a couple of rough spots, maybe like 2 years ago, when I was in transition from one company to another, I was like questioning myself. And then when I uh, put myself out there and I spoke at conferences and I did presentations and I did speak up more and I helped more families, I was like, no, I know what I'm talking about.
Good at this.
I yeah, I have the education, I have the knowledge, I have the experience. I've been a therapist for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've been in every role you can almost imagine, and I have a lot to give, you
Yes.
know?
A lot
And
of
and it's believing in yourself
Yeah.
and putting that information out there, and also having good mentors and having good people to back you up, and having friends like you, Amanda, that like are encouraging and lift you up and mention your name in a room of opportunities. Not a lot of people are like that, but you're definitely like that. And it's nice to have people like you around me also that are doing amazing things and is encouraging me to do amazing things too.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
No, it's true. It's so true.
Yeah, no, and I can relate, because in the work that I do, I'm not a licensed clinician, right? So I have a lot of the imposter syndrome, or I have, and it's come up, but like my skill set is not the clinical role. I bring in the clinical role in my team. So I've had a lot of the who the hell do I think I am? Like being this interventionist coach, like I have a bachelor's degree. I have all these trainings in my specialty, but like, who the hell do I think I am? And I've had to really just own my area of expertise, and like all my clinical friends respect and love my work. So, that tells me that I must be validated, but I've had a lot of that myself, and you definitely have all the experience in the backup to back that, back yourself up for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not just about like the credentials or the education and stuff like that, but it's going out there and doing the work.
Mhm.
And um, it, you're seeing the clients. You're out there every day, seeing families, helping families. You learn as you go. Every time I speak to a family, I'm speaking to like 2 or 3 families, new families a day,
Right.
new families a day,
Yeah.
with boys and girls from the ages of like 10 to 17, 18 at this point needing help. I'm learning new things. Every family needs something different. They are trusting me with their kids' lives. They need someone to listen to them. I'm giving them a therapy session almost like, I'm not going to say for free, but that's not what I mean. You know what I mean? But like,
But really, yeah, helping them in the process.
they are. They haven't had anyone to sit down and listen.
Yeah.
So, and when they call me and they say, Vanina, I got your number from somebody called me yesterday, actually, and they said, hey, Vanina, I got your number from Amanda and Blake, and they said I have to talk to you. And I spoke to him for, I think, 45 minutes, sitting in the parking lot of Target. And at
For
6,
that.
yes, at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And he, he really needed to be heard. He really needed to tell his story. He told me more of his story than of his child's story, but like he really needed for me to understand what he had gone through, where he was coming from, and as I hear all these stories, and as I get more and more experience, it's only helping me to help the next family, and it's just giving me more and more information to continue to help more and more people.
Yeah.
And I have to learn about all the programs that are out there. Maybe his kid might not be the best fit for Family First, or Family First might not be the best fit for his child. It happened to be that it is, his child had major like complex trauma,
Yeah.
and I think it might be like a really good fit for him. But if it's not, what recommendations can I give him that I really trust?
And we
Where
trust
can I guide him?
and we trust for you to do that, right? So we kind of felt stumped with this case, right? And we knew we needed to bring you in to assist us, which we're here to assist you as well, but we knew that like we didn't have all the answers, right? So that's why our psychologist is the one who, Dr. Hochman is the one who was referred him, and then we were brought in, and then we needed to bring you in. So sometimes like this whole thing takes like a village, right?
Yeah,
It really
it
does.
really does.
Can you see the questions, Vanina?
Oh,
So Reb has a question. I'll just read it off to you. How do you get a young adult caught up in weed and video gaming to understand that a stay in rehab can change their lives? Because when they stay in the denial stage, it can be very difficult to assess them. Actually, we deal with that a lot, I think both of us.
yeah.
So great question, Reb. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if that is much different than an adult, but what we can say is that for an adolescent, at least in Florida, I mean, there's a different couple of ways to answer this question. Um, Parents can put their child in treatment, and their child is not allowed to sign themselves out of treatment. So there are great ways to intervene, to help their child, to get their child to treatment. Obviously, and we have people like Amanda and Blake that will do a very gentle, loving, family approach type of intervention to talk to them and make them understand that we love them and we want them in treatment to help them get better. The parents have to be on the same page and put down some boundaries and help them understand that treatment is going to be the best thing for them. The way that kids think sometimes is, a little bit different. And you do, at least to come to family first, you have to be willing as a kid. Like, kids have to say, yes, I'm willing to come to treatment. So it either has to come from them understanding that there is some kind of issue and they want to get better, or sometimes it has to be from, if you don't go to treatment, then there's not going to be summer camp. There's not going to be the high school that you want to go to. There's not going to be the car when you turn 16. There's not going to be, these things, unless, they're coming from a crisis situation. What do
Yeah,
you
like sometimes, I mean, we have family members with adults and adolescents. They're like, well, what if they're like not really willing and they're just going because they want to just shut us up? I said, well, let's go with that for now. Like if they go, that's when we like hope the magic happens when they get into the clinical programming, right? So not everyone on the front end, especially a kid, is going to be like, woohoo, I'm going to treatment. But if we get them to go and be willingly there for whatever reason, then the magic can happen with the peers and the clinical programming and then the work that happens in treatment.
Yeah. What I can say is that although it's treatment and it's hard stuff and it's a sophisticated clinical program, and I'm talking about Family First, obviously, but Family First is loving, compassionate, and fun program. It's teen centric. We understand teens. We understand that it's not just you're going to come, you're going to be in an institution, you're going to be in a room, and you're just going to do therapy, or that's just not what we're about.
Right.
And you're going to be able to be a kid also while you're with us. You get
Yes.
to go to adventure therapy, and you get to go to a gym that's a CrossFit gym that's on the water, and you get to go paddleboarding and kayaking with therapeutic intervention. It's experiential therapy, but it's really cool. And you get to do, equine therapy and goat yoga. We've been doing goat yoga with the kids, and you get to do cool things. And on the weekends, if it's therapeutically appropriate, you get to do outings and deep sea fishing and like fun things. And obviously there's hard work to be done in individual therapy and group therapy and family therapy, but you're not coming to be locked up in a hospital.
That's what I was. I was brought to a psychiatrist appointment and then the door locked behind me and they said, you're going to be here a year to 3 years at 15 years old. You bet your butt that I escaped twice. There was no way. But anyways, Blake has a question. Of course, Blake comes up with a like nice, detailed, complex questions each time I do a Zoom. What is the difference between taking an attachment-based approach to care as opposed to a behavioral modification approach? Blake Cohen, thank you.
Uh-huh. I love you, Blake. Well, I'll tell you, obviously I have to talk about family first, and you're asking about family first, I'm assuming, because we do not have a behavior modification approach, which means that we don't have rewards and punishments. And we have a non-punitive approach to treatment, which means that there are it's not shaming. Nothing is there's a no shaming policy, no punishment policy. So The way we treat everything, the relational developmental approach, which is loving and compassionate, is that everything is a chance. There's a chance to work through your feelings. If you come to our program, for example, and not that we're going to encourage you to punch a hole in the wall, but if you were to have a tough time through a session and for some reason you have a reaction of anger, which is normal, and you happen to punch a hole in the wall, you're not going to get punished for that. You're not going to be removed of a privilege. You're not going to be punished for that. You're still going to get to go on the deep sea fishing activity on the weekend. We are going to take that opportunity to work through those feelings, and you're not going to be shamed for having a feeling. Kids get to be who they are while they're with us. They get to explore their relationship to their traumas, their relationship to their feelings, their relationship to things that happen to them, without having the fear of having to comply to certain rules.
Right.
And that way, they also don't have to have that fight of compliance versus defiance.
Right.
So
They can feel their feelings and have outbursts, and that's like normal.
Yeah,
right? That's okay.
that's
So
okay.
a follow-up comment. Yes, I'm asking how you'd relate Family First approach to other programs for teens that use a much more punitive approach. Beautiful answer.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So, we're not the type of program that's going to have kids earn their, I don't know what other programs do, stuff that we're not okay with, but like earn, outings or earn food or earn their clothes or earn, things that every kid should have.
Yeah, mine was a TC program that was like you had to earn like talking to your family. You had to earn being able to
Okay, thank you. Those are better examples. Thanks.
for music, watching TV, reading books. You couldn't do any of that in the beginning of the treatment. You had to sit in church pews, and like it was just awful. It ended up getting condemned and shut down. But yeah, that punitive old school approach, like beat you down to build you up, that does not work for traumatized people, especially kids.
Yeah.
Makes you want to say F you and get the hell out of there. When you're met with
or repress everything,
yes,
comply, and then your family gets a phone call that says, "Oh, she's doing great. She's being a good girl. She's complying to everything."
Yes.
And then you leave there, and then what happens?
Shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
You gotta always look out for the star pupil in treatment. They're the ones suffering a lot. I was not the person anytime ever. I was the outburst, but hey, I'm one of two people from my last program 16 years ago that's still clean and sober, But yeah, it's reality to have those kinds of reactions. And these are teenage boys with other teenage boys in your program, with feelings coming up. How are they not going to react? And if they didn't, that would be like them not getting better.
Yeah. So. Yeah. We take those opportunities to talk about, what came up for you? What happened? And then how can you deal with that differently? Maybe, instead of punching a hole in the wall, I mean, it's okay. Maybe there's a punching bag in the house, actually. Let's go punch the punching bag,
Totally.
Or another different outlet for some healthy aggression, because there is a way to do some healthy, outlets for aggression, which it's okay to have.
Yeah. And that's generally like often the first feel. That's the only feeling I felt as a kid or young adult in early recovery. It's the only feeling I knew how to feel was anger, but it was always other things, but it came out as anger. I was an angry, punch everything kind of girl. And that's the easiest one to feel, right? But what's underneath that,
Yeah.
So I do want to leave some time for you to talk about another thing you're passionate about is, the cultural piece and understanding families, cultural backgrounds, ethnic, religious, like all of that. When you do the work that you do, it's something you're very passionate about. You present on it. And it's a thing that interests me. Like I love learning about other cultures and religions, and then also being able to support families and meeting them where they are. So I'd love to hear some of your work with that.
Yeah. Um, Once again, it's super important to me because it's very personal. Um, I immigrated to the United States when I was 10 from Argentina. Um, and I come from a family of immigrants. My family immigrated to Argentina from Eastern Europe during the Holocaust. So I've done a lot of my own research in my own family, and then went through my own experiences, and then moving to this country as a 10-year-old without knowing a word of English and not knowing how to fit into the culture, with parents that were amazing and hardworking, but trying to navigate the American ways of living and healthcare. One of my passions as a professional is to help families find cultural competent healthcare for them. So when I speak to families that are Spanish speaking or speak another language or come from different cultures, I think it's so important to be able to have them feel understood more than anything. So to me, it's not necessary to be an expert in every single culture, but to be curious and open minded and just culturally competent. That's just what it means to me, is to be open to all cultures. So that is something that is super passionate.
And
For
if it's not you, knowing the person to direct them to or who
Yeah,
to involve, right?
yeah,
Like what's been super helpful for me is like I'm a European American white woman. I mean, I have European descent, but there's a lot that I have not personally experienced. I bring in the right people that have, right? And like I know that you're really good at that too. Like we had a mutual transport to a country, and I brought my gentleman in who goes to Colombia all the time, and he could comfort this family. He knew his way around there. You know what I mean? So I know and I know if a like Miami Latina family comes to me, I know that I need to bring in someone else. I don't have the full experience to help relate, and I know that I need to bring in someone else to assist. Like I just know
yeah.
that.
And that's exactly why I called you for that family.
Right.
I said, I know that you guys have someone that knows the area, knows the language, and that family would feel comfortable and understood.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just important to be aware, just to be aware and to talk about it and to put it out there and to be able to serve families of all cultures. We have a very big population of religious families, of Jewish religious families.
I was gonna bring that up next. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been doing an amazing job at Family First, being very cultural competent for them, and it's been amazing to see those boys and those families get better, and seek really good mental health treatment, because there are very few really Jewish programs. So we're
Right.
not necessarily a Jewish program, but we're a program that can be really open and accommodating and understanding for those families.
Each individual family's needs,
Yeah.
culturally, religious, any of it. That's which I have personally experienced with you guys, which is so important. Yeah, I mean, I have Blake Cohen and Dr. Hochman on my team who are both, Jewish men and work a lot in that community too. And they've taught me so much. I was raised in a dual home, half Jewish, half Catholic. So I took care of my grandma Sylvia Gross until she passed away. So I had a lot of that in my upbringing, but working with it in this space is it's definitely a little more complicated. And anything like culturally different than American, ways. Like there's different belief systems. There's some stigma attached to like asking for help in mental health, or failure in the family when it comes to addiction. And it's not about that. And like being able to help families and meet them where they are and help them accept some kind of help in this way, and that not seeing that it is, a problem that they did. This is just sometimes life, how it shows up.
Yeah. If we can help just remove some of those barriers, just a few, I think we're doing so much.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there any final words you'd like to share, and any ways that people can find you, Vanina, to contact you directly?
Um, just I give my cell phone out to everybody. So, I mean, I am on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, email, cell phone. I mean, anything. Anyway, you can always reach me. I am just grateful. Thank you, Amanda, for the platform and for all the work that you do. And love you both, you and Blake and Sarah, and the whole team is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you can, Vanina, after, because you don't have the access to the chat, if you could just like chime in and put like your email and how people can reach you, because I'm sure there's people that are watching this that are scared to put in a public forum that might want to connect with you individually. So feel free to do that. Like, it's a lot easier to direct message someone or email them than sometimes to pick up the phone or chime in a public forum when you need help for your loved one. So Vanina will come in after this, if you could do that and chime in how people can reach you.
I will.
All right. And if you haven't followed Family First or don't know anything about them, please do. I've known James, their owner, since before he started, when he was running around town with a backpack talking about this adolescent halfway house he wanted to start. And it's evolved into this beautiful, thing. So you follow, definitely check out Family First. They do really, really good work there. And, working with them, with the families they work with, is always a pleasure. So thank you so much for your time, Vanina.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.